Well, good morning and Happy New Year, everybody. Hope everybody had a fantastic Christmas and New Year, and hope that 2019 is as successful as possible for everybody. I wanted to kick the year off with probably the most suggested tutorial guide from when I asked for suggestions for the coming few months, and I'm going to show you blending. So I'm going to do it from scratch, going to do it from the beginning. This is quite obviously unscripted. So please excuse me if I swear or stutter or jump on my words. But anyway, so I'll crack on. And what I'm going to paint today is it's a little Primaris Spaceballs dude that I put together. I'm just going to be painting one of his lower legs. Actually, it'll probably just end up being one half of one of the lower legs. But I'm going to show you the technique that I use. And I'm going to be using 3 colours for this. So this isn't non-metallic metal, this is just painting with colour and blending and shading. That's all it is. So yeah, the 3 colours that I'm going to use, all from Games Workshop, from Citadel range, and that's the Fang, Rust Grey and Fenrisian Grey. So all from the same kind of family, all the same kind of hue, to go from a dark colour to a light colour, excluding recess shade and highlight colour. So if I was going to recess shade this, I would do it with my concoction of 2 parts black to 1 parts Fang, and then if I was going to highlight, I would use Orthian Grey. So these are kind of like your 3 mid colours. Like I said, excluding a colour for recess shading, so deep shadow, and excluding an edge highlight colour. So all of these are just straight into a dropper bottle. They haven't been pre-thinned. It's literally just pour it out of the GW pot and pour it into a dropper bottle with an agitator. And that's it. So Fenrisian Grey, give it a good shake. Rust Grey, and the Fang. So one of the big things about when you're blending is a lot of it is about the setup. So make sure that you've got clean brushes, clean water, clean model, and clean wet palette, or at least an area of wet palette that's clean. Make sure it hasn't got any dust or dirt on there. If you had the lid off for a little while, then there might be some stray hairs on there, and that's what you want to make sure that there isn't. So if you do see any flecks of dust or like hairs, like micro hairs, just make sure you get rid of them. Same with the Mini. Make sure that it's clean, the area that you're going to be painting. Just give it a quick blow, just to make sure that there's no dust on there. Again, same with water. So I just use water from a dropper bottle. I don't use it from the paint pot because that's minging. Although I've cleaned it this morning, so we're okay. And then brushes, again, make sure that you use clean brushes. I always use a brush to mix my paint. It's just a standard synthetic brush that I only use for mixing. And then the actual brush that I'm going to use today is from Rosemary & Co. It's Michael Klein. It's a size 0. That's it. So it's a synthetic brush, Michael Klein by Rosemary & Co. So let's get on with the show. So paints are shaken up. Always make sure that the end, you can't see it off camera, but just give the nib a bit of a wipe down with a tissue, just to get rid of any crapola that might be accumulated around the tip. And then just a little blob. Okay, you can see that I didn't that's not mixed 100% because it's you can see that there's some parts blue, some parts light blue, but hey, it's New Year, so I'm sure we can live dangerously a bit. So add a few drops of water, not too many. Now this is the same kind of process for that I've illustrated before in terms of how to get the correct viscosity of the paint. Give it a little mix, and what you're looking for once you've mixed it all, and you give it a push out, it wants to come back on itself. Now that's obviously a little bit too thick, so add a little bit more water, just a couple more drops, not too much. Mix from the outside in. Make sure that you get a constant consistency throughout the puddle. So now when I push it out, that's a little bit too thick. Starting to come back on itself, maybe just a little bit more. Not too many. Now for these videos, I've always done it quietly, without music in the background. If you would prefer music, or if you prefer it quiet, just let me know, because I'm going to be doing more videos. Okay, let's see how that is. Okay, it's just starting to come back now. Just starting to creep back. Okay, that's cool. That's good with me then. So, let's crack on. A little bit of paint on there, not too much. But this is just the first layer, so it's not too bad. Okay, let's get into a position where you can see and I can see, and we're all good. Where's that? Look at the camera, look at the model. Make sure I can see it. Yeah, that's good with me. I wouldn't normally hold it by the by the model itself. I'd hold it by the cork, but obviously I'm trying to get into a position that you guys can actually see what I'm painting, and that I can see what I'm painting as well. Okay, remember that when you're painting layers on and it's starting to dry, there's that period of the danger zone, as I like to say, where it's starting to dry, like it's here, so it's still shiny. If I go in there now with another layer, then it's going to scuff up. Okay. Oh yeah, I've just spotted, please ignore this. Well, obviously I've cut it off the sprue and kind of half filed it down. Please ignore that bit. I would obviously go in and get rid of that, but now I'm not. Again, it's New Year, let's live dangerously. I'm going to shatter the illusion actually now, aren't I, that I'm good. Never mind. Oh well. Reality bites. Okay, so it's starting to dry now. So it's no longer glossy and shiny, which means that it's good to go with the second coat. So let's go with the second coat again. Not so much paint on there. It's a little much, but it's fine. I think people get a little bit worried about leaving brush marks and stuff. As long as your paint's thin enough, and as long as you don't touch it when it's in the danger zone, then it's not going to show up brush marks, because obviously it's mainly water. The water's just going to evaporate. So you can see on there's a fair amount of paint on there. You know, it's not like I've gone in and just done, you know, 1 micron thick, you know, wafer thin. There's a relative amount of paint on there, but as you'll see when it dries, because like I said, because it's mainly water, and according to my thermometer it's 23.3 degrees, so it shouldn't take an absolute age to dry. The water just starts to evaporate, and then you end up with no brush marks, but a nice even layer of paint on there. Obviously, if I was doing this in real life, I would go and do something else while this is drying, or paint another leg. If I was batch painting these, it wouldn't be necessarily an issue, because I put one down, do another, put one down, do another. But if I'm doing a single character and want to speed this up, I may just get the old hairdryer out just to speed it on its way. See, so it's glossy, so danger zone, don't touch it with your brush now. Maybe I put a little bit too much paint on there last time. It's just puddling a little, but in all honesty, it's an even colour. If this was a glaze, then there is a risk that would leave too dark a patch. But because it's just an even colour, you know, it's rust grey. It's fang going on the fang, then it's going to be, you know, an even colour when it dries anyway. So it's still drying. But yeah, again, as you can see, that where it is drying now, that's a nice even colour. You can still see the texture of the plastic behind the paint, which is kind of what you want when you're painting. And again, this is why it's so important to use, you know, the rule of thumb in terms of how thin to have your paint, you know, so that the tide comes back on itself. It wants to colorize the plastic. That's kind of, you are painting it, but you don't want to see any evidence of paint other than the color. That's it. That's why you use acrylics. That's why you don't use, you know, generally speaking, for miniature painting, you don't use oils or stuff like that, because it's they can have too much of a, you know, substance. Acrylics, especially when they're watered down, they're water based, so all you're doing is trying to colour the surface of the plastic, as opposed to leave any other evidence of the paint. Okay, so it's just starting to dry now. What I'm going to do, because that was a little too much paint, I'm just going to give it a blast with a hairdryer. Excuse me. Okay, there we go. Back in. See, it's a little bit darker down on that side. Just where I blasted it with a hairdryer, but in all honesty, it's all going to be fang anyway, so it doesn't matter. Plus, this is kind of like reality painting. Yeah, it's why I always do things like work in progress pictures on Instagram with just normal lights and not always you know, in a light box, because I actually want you to see what it looks like in real life. You know, we're not all as fortunate as me that has, you know, dedicated space to paint and, you know, all the setup and, you know, everything. Obviously it's my job, so I need it, but not everybody is fortunate or in a position to be able to have that. So the last thing I want to do is, you know, show everything in pristine perfect, you know, straight in a light box, this is the only thing that you see, because that's just bullshit. That's not what it looks like in real life. So I suppose that's why it's quite good to do these videos, and it just to be kind of ad-libbed and no script, obviously. I actually don't even have a fucking clue what I'm doing. Just thought I'd just pick up a paintbrush and throw some paint on a mini and just see what happens. Yeah. Well, we're 15 minutes in and we're doing okay so far. Okay. So that's just drying. Okay, let's see what that looks like as it dries. Great thing about using a hairdryer, I've noticed this, is that because the plastic retains some of the heat from where you blast it with a hairdryer, then it actually helps the paint to dry a little bit quicker, which is really cool. It's really good. Okay. So that's the Fang. I won't do any more on there just with the Fang because that's kind of, it's just the base colour. So next thing, let's go with Rust Grey. Give it a decent shake this time. Not a half-arsed shake like I did last time with the Fang. Again, clean all the crap off the nib. Let's shift that along a bit. Not too much this time. Don't want to waste paint. Okay. Now obviously because I use less paint, I'm going to need less water. I think I was a little bit over zealous with the amount of paint I was going to use. I think I was going to paint a whole fucking squad. Oh well. Okay. So it's just coming back on itself, do you see? There we go. Leaves a tide mark. That's what you want. Okay. So. Grab the Mini. Now, not too much paint this time. You don't want to completely like soak up all the paint like we did with the base colour. So what I'm going to do is probably from about here, let's go upwards. Okay. Remember that danger zone still needs to dry. So make sure that's dry. Cool. A little bit more. Again, not too much. Little and often. It's just nice vertical strokes. Can let it dry completely. Apologies if you hear my stomach rumbling. I haven't had breakfast yet. It's 8:15. Been down the gym this morning, come back, shower. Normally would have breakfast at this point, but I thought, hey, again, it's the new year. Let's live dangerously, man. Oh well. More. So we're not too worried about actually blending it too much at the moment. Now it's just a case of just start to, people call it sketching out, whatever. It's just a rough kind of an idea of where the paint's going to go. Okay, so that's that one, and then we're going to do exactly the same thing with Fenrisian. The shape. Okay, let's see if I can do this all in under half an hour. We're on nearly 20 minutes now. Exactly the same. Couple of drops. Give it a mix. looks okay. Yeah, that's fine. This is just first stage of blending anyway, so it doesn't have to be so completely watery. Right. Again, not too much on your brush. Okay. Let that dry. Just a quick blast with the hairdryer just to make sure it's completely dry. 2 secs. Okay. Let that dry. Okay. So that's our 3 basic colours. I'm going to stick a little bit more rust grey just in the middle. That's not as bold as what I would like. Okay. So let that dry. So we've got our 3 main colours now. Fenrisian, Rust Grey and the Fang. So now what we're going to do is we are going to glaze to blend these in a little bit more. It's not a million miles away from where I want it to be. If you were going for more kind of like a comic booky illustrative style, then you would do less glazing. If you want it, you know, heavy metal style or, you know, more smoother, then, you know, more glazing basically. So glaze, we've done glazes before, but just as a little reminder is that we'll add some water just to kind of the south side of the puddle. So this one's really watery. Let's add a little bit more. So there's your glaze. And then we'll do the same thing over here. Drag a little bit of paint in. And then exactly the same here with the lighter colour. So we've got our glazes. There we go. Again, remembering the old rule of thumb, if you want to make sure that the glaze is of the correct consistency, grab a little bit of the glaze, put it on your thumb, and you should just, like a hint of a tint, like you can hardly see it, man. That's what you want. If it's darker than that, then there's too much paint. You need to water it down. So we're going to grab our mini, grab our darkest glaze, not too much. I think most people go wrong with glazing because they put too much on their brush. Don't put too much on. And again, following the direction. Start from where it's the darkest and then move your way along. If you want, you can actually move all the way along to the end. And then just leave that, let that dry completely. So important with glazes, let it dry completely until the gloss goes. You can see that's the reflection of my my lamp. If I keep it like that, little blow, there goes the gloss. When you can't see any gloss, that's safe to do more. Again, a little bit more, not too much, not too much. Again, start where it's the darkest, and then move along until the end. You've hardly got any glaze on there at all. So it's starting to go. Let it dry. Okay, a bit more glaze. This time I'm just going to do it where it's where it needs blending. And leave that there. Okay, let that dry. Now I tend to go kind of between going one way and then going the other way so it doesn't become so dark. So now I'm going with the mid colour and starting in the middle, working my way out. Let that dry. And you can even do it with the lightest colour. Again, painting in the direction of the brush strokes. Let that dry. I suppose the reason I do this is by the time this is, you know, I paint here and then paint there, this one's dry, so I can go back in. Concentrating on the bit that needs blending. Middle one. Lighter one. Let it dry. So it's not a quick process, as you can see. If you want to speed it up, just make your paint a little bit thicker. But in all honesty, if you're, you know, this is for things like displaying competitions, stuff like that. You slow and steady. You cannot rush these things. You cannot rush these things. This is why when it says, oh, you know, it takes 200 hours to paint something for Golden Demon, at least. This is why. But this is how you get that smooth blend. And people said, you know, how'd you do it? This is it. Okay, let that dry. Okay, didn't quite do it for half an hour, but there we go. Okay, that time I grabbed the paint from a little bit further in, so it's still kind of glazy, but it's slightly more paint, because otherwise we will be here for days. But that's the thing, is kind of, you know, because you created this kind of spectrum from really watery through to kind of solid layer paint. If you pick something from here, that's kind of like half and half. So again, just to expedite it, speed it up a little bit. So the light one, again, I'll show you where I'm grabbing it from. So it's grabbing it from kind of here, from the middle bit. Let that dry. So I used a little bit more paint that time, so it's going to take a little while to dry. Okay, I'm just going to shove that under the hairdryer just for a second. Right, let's see where we are. Okay. A little bit more. We're doing okay. It's kind of normal. It's what I would expect to see from doing a panel for half an hour. So again, as you'll see with my glazing, it's start from where it's darkest. So if I'm putting the darkest glaze on, start from here, and effectively what you're doing is, as you're going along, you're using up paint, so that by the time you get to here, there's kind of really no paint. So that's how you get that good gradient. Little bit of glaze on there, push. Oh, and you'll see, obviously, I tend to do it just one way. So I go in, touch, up, let go. Go in, touch, up, let go. So I'm not going, like, I'm not scrubbing. I'm just going in one direction. And that's not a reference to that shit boy band. Even if they're still around. Okay. Okay. guess I was being quite hopeful, thinking I could do this in half an hour. I normally, because really this is the same process as when you do non-metallics. I know I said it wasn't non-metallic, but when you're doing colorized non-metallics, it's the same principle. I suppose for me to do a panel of non-metallic, it takes me about an hour, so this is about right. So you can see now I'm tending just to use the lightest and the darkest colour. I'm not really worried about the mid, because at the moment, because I'm just glazing, it's such small changes in hue that actually, you know, and because it's just so watery, it's just kind of all you're doing now is glazing. It's just literally blending it in. So you're using the darkest and the lightest one just to kind of make it a bit more of an even gradient. Sure you can see me. Get my fat thumb out of the way. Let's see how we're looking. Let that dry. So we're going from light all the way through to dark. Let's see how that looks. Hair dry it, 2 secs. Okay, let's see how that looks for the moment. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm now going to throw on some ultra matte varnish, because that's how I finish off most models anyway that isn't metallic, because that's, I'd say it's almost there, do you know what I mean? It's not, I would probably do it for another 10 minutes or so. I wouldn't go overboard unless it's for competition, but if I'm doing, you know, just something that's going to be a nice display piece, then this is, you know, the amount of effort that I would put into a single panel. So again, we're at about 40 minutes now, so I'd normally do a panel for about an hour. But because I want to show you what it looks like once you've applied the matte varnish to get rid of this nasty shine. Don't like shiny models. So just a bit of the matte varnish and just apply it all over. Oops. Make sure you guys can see. Just let that dry a bit more, not too much, not too much. Don't want to flood it. Just wipe it over. Let that dry, 2 secs. Hair dry time. Still a bit shiny. Let's just throw one more layer of varnish on. Okay, hair dry it. Let's see how that looks. It's still a little bit shiny. I mean, I've got a lamp right close to it, so it is going to make a bit of a difference. Oh, turn the light off. There we go. Okay, so we've gone from dark to light. What I'm going to do is I'll take a photo of this after, so that you can see the difference. Because obviously with video it is slightly different, but effectively we've gone from dark through to mid through to light, but allowing enough room to be able to put a highlight on there. I'm not going to worry about doing a highlight now. I suppose actually I could just do a quick one just to show you, okay, because then we kind of get the contrast, just so that you can see. So Orthian grey, I'll just do this quickly. This is your edge highlight colour, a little bit of water, not too much, not too much. You don't want your edge highlights to be milky, so it's slightly thicker than what you would do with a layer. Yeah, that'll do. That'll do. Okay, small brush, Rosemary & Co. Series 315, 10-0. My new favourite brush. Okay, so let's just do a quick edge highlight on there. Let's do it so you guys can see. You see that? Yeah. Okay, a little bit. You guys can see that. Okay, so the top edge highlight, there we go. There we go. So now you can see the contrast. That's how, you know, I fucking hate this word. That's how you make it pop. Contrast. That's how you make it contrast, okay? By using quite a dark one. Dark against light, it's going to pop. Okay. And obviously because you haven't gone really, really light, you can still do an edge highlight with Orthian grey. You can see look how nice and sharp that is in comparison against the black. So like I said, I would probably go in and do another 10 minutes or so of blending, but quite frankly I'm just doing the same thing as what you've just seen almost 45 minutes of. So that is my blending 101. I hope it's been useful. Any questions, please do ask, and please do let me know how you get on, and don't forget the Patreon only Facebook group to show your results from this blending. Right, guys and girls, Happy New Year to you all, and I'll speak to you all soon. All right, take care. Bye.